So I'm sitting outside and Pope is out west. Outside and out west. Is this any way to start and celebrate a new OHL season? I think not. Unfortunately for you, Pope is not out west because he's auditioning for jobs in the Western Hockey League. He will be back as we start the season together on Friday, October the 8th. Of course, you know that the new OHL season is getting underway in one day less than that. Thursday, October the 7th, the OHL is finally back. So that is absolutely cause for celebration. I can tell you that we're also getting back into the regular swing of things with this podcast. We have gone through the alphabet tour of the OHL through the summer, kind of helping you get back in touch with your team and find out where your team's opponents stand as the 2021-2022 campaign gets underway. But we are very excited for that. And we've got some new things in store for you, or some familiar things, I think, with the season ahead. Watch for more coffee reviews. Anybody that's been around this league for more than a minute might remember something called Tuesdays with Montague back in the day. Well, there's a little homage to that coming your way as well. And hopefully some more surprises as we try to provide more content for you on these channels with the league getting back underway and another season just around the corner. So reminder to you, farwellandpope@gmail.com is our email address. If you want to hear from a former player on OHL Stories, let us know. We'll try to track them down and get them on this podcast for you. Give the podcast a follow and send us a review. We're happy to hear from you on that, and tell your friends that OHL Stories is featuring the stories of some of your favorite players and current players too, as we bring you with us around the league for another season. And we're back into that, as I said, this week as we're finished with the alphabet tour. And now it's time to talk to another former player from this league who is back in this league as a coach. So we've seen that happen with a number of players over the years, and this is now just the latest. And he's picking up for a franchise that is one of this league's premier franchises right now, not too far removed from 3 Memorial Cups in less than a decade. So these are the kinds of stories we hope we continue to bring you as this season gets underway, and there is so much more ahead. Believe it or not, we have already reached now almost 50 episodes of this podcast. So keep the reviews coming. Tell your friends, like I said, email us anytime, farwellandpope@gmail.com. And we'll be back together, at least together virtually, in the same city when our podcast is ready for next week, the first week of the OHL season. And it makes sense. I can let this cat out of the bag right now. The commissioner of the Ontario Hockey League will be our guest next week. How did it all come together? What does it look like with Eastern Conference playing only Eastern Conference teams, Western Conference playing only Western Conference teams? And are there contingency plans? We don't even want to talk about them, right? We've got the vaccination policies in place across the Ontario Hockey League, but you know the league is prepared for the worst should the worst come to pass. So we'll check in with the commissioner next week, but right now it's time for a conversation with the all-time points leader in Oshawa Generals history. Speaking of proud franchises, he went on from the Oshawa Generals to a 14-year National Hockey League career, more than 800 games played, and he's now back in the Ontario Hockey League as the coach of the Windsor Spitfires. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy this conversation with Marc Savard. Obviously, Marc, with you, the OHL story is kind of coming full circle, being back here now as a head coach. But before we get to that and everything in between, because there's so much to talk about, I'm really curious as to the start of all of this, because here's a Peterborough kid that ends up being drafted into the OHL by the Oshawa Generals. How does that go over on the home front?
Well, it's obviously a tough thing, the biggest rivalry in junior hockey probably. So, it was tough, but Peterborough's where I make home now still, and on the lakes up there. But Oshawa was probably one of the best 4 years of my life in hockey for sure.
When you were drafted to Oshawa, were you watching the draft and being like, please not Oshawa, please not Oshawa, please not Oshawa?
No, I was, I liked Oshawa. We had some rivals, obviously, but no, I was just excited to go to any team and get an opportunity, and it happened to be Oshawa. And like I said, again, I really enjoyed my 4 years in Oshawa.
You talk about making the most of an opportunity. To this day, 400 plus. The franchise leader in points for that team. And you talk about how storied the history is. Did you think that 30 years plus later, you'd still be at the top of that board?
No, for sure. I mean, especially when John Tavares went there late and he was making a push for it, and then he got traded to London, and then I would have lost that. But no, it's something that you didn't think about when you were playing. But to see it still carry on, I'm sure at some point it'll be beaten. Every record's there to be broken. Maybe not Gretzky's, but mine will be. But no, again, it's such a great accomplishment, something I'm proud of, and they put my jersey in the rafters, obviously, and that's another thing that was a big moment in my life. So. Again, back here in the OHL, and I'm excited to get an opportunity to go back to Oshawa as a coach and play in that building.
You mentioned the jersey retirement. What was the phone call like when you found out they were going to do that?
It was emotional, to be honest with you. It was a very emotional night for my family and I, and it was just I was lost for words, to be honest, and the whole night came together really nicely. And Rocco Tullia and the Oshawa Generals organization did a fabulous job, and it's a day that I'll never forget.
I got to ask one more on the point scoring pace, Mark, because Stan Butler, well known and highly regarded in this league, previous guest on this podcast, so he knows we love to tease him a little bit. But how do you put up 139 points playing for Stan Butler? The joke is he lines up his team in the 1-2-2 trap during the national anthem. Like, how are you putting up points like that for him?
Daily discussions in his office, so I was able to win the odd battle. But no, Stan let me basically play 2 minutes on the power play, and I was able. And I think that was early in his coaching days, so maybe he tightened up a little bit. But no, he let me do what I wanted basically on offense, as long as I was respectful defensively, and I tried to do that. So it was a decent relationship that way.
Stan can be an intimidating individual at times. Was it tough going in there as like a 16-year-old?
It was, but again, we had our moments, but again, I was always a confident kid, and I think that's what ended up pushing through. And he, obviously, if you look at that 139 point year, I don't know if the second guy in points had maybe 65 on the team. So he used me in all offensive situations, and I was able to play with all kinds of players and spread out their point totals all across the board. So Stan used me in all situations. We had our moments, like I said, but yeah, he can be intimidating at times, but he didn't scare me that much.
It's hard to get scared when you're putting up points like that. He'll forgive you pretty quick, I guess. When you look back, Mark, what would you describe as your welcome to the OHL moment when you realized, yep, I've made it to this step of my hockey career?
Well, maybe my first preseason game, 5-on-5 brawl I was in. So I'm like, whoa, I didn't sign up for this. So that's back in the older days. But yeah, playing Peterborough, actually, 5-on-5 preseason brawl. I still remember the guy I fought this Pat Paoni guy behind the net, and I didn't do so well. I think I tried to knock him out with my first punch and ended up with a big goose egg on the back of my head. He might have hit me a couple of times, but that was one of the moments. But again, I think just scoring your first goal. I remember I got an OT winner my first year in Sudbury, and those are the little moments that you remember. I think that still to this day.
When Oshawa goes to Peterborough, you mentioned it. It's one of the, if not the best rivalry in the Ontario Hockey League. There's that. We've heard from people on this podcast. Farzy, I think we've talked to way too many Oshawa and Peterborough people on this podcast. There's a lot of connections.
It's the best rivalry, Mark said so. Yeah, and it is.
And they've said, like, when you're on that drive to Peterborough, it just feels different. You're heading into battle. What was it like as a Peterborough kid going back there?
Well, intense, and had a lot of family at the games, but it was quite the battle. I played really well against the Petes. My numbers, I don't know if is there any way to track them, but I would say I had some big nights, but some good battles. And I remember back to when I was playing with them, and Bill Stewart was coaching us in my final year. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but it was a really, really ugly series, a lot of heated moments, and something you regret a little bit, but you do what the coach said. So we beat them in Game 6 in Peterborough, and we went off the ice and didn't shake their hands, and it was something that I still hear about today. But it was that's something you wish you had back, but that was the coach's decision. But it was an ugly, ugly series, and we were able to move on and win the OHL that year and go to the Memorial Cup.
I was just going to take it there because you're talking about that series under Bill Stewart. I think it was only 18 losses in the season compared to 41 wins. But you get a chance to do something that I wonder, Marc, how special it felt at the time, because when you're in this league and you know it's a short career, right? 5 years at the most, and that pinnacle is the Memorial Cup. You got to be there. Did it dawn on you at the time?
I think it did. You know, we went through so much heartache in my first 3 years there. And then when Bill Stewart took over, you know, we had a little bit of a rough start, and then we started to win a lot of hockey games, and we felt confident. And it was something that I wanted to do. I knew you only play in the league, like you said, it could be 5 years. I kind of thought, you know, I'm out of here after 4. This is my last go at it. So I really wanted to do it. And we were fortunate enough. We played against the Ottawa 67s too, who were ranked number 1 in the country the whole year in the CHL. So they had Al McCauley and Brian Killer obviously was coaching them. And I can remember game 6. I'm actually getting a little bit of chills. We played them, and in overtime I scored 17 seconds in, and we went to the Memorial Cup, and it was unbelievable. But I remember Bill Stewart coming in the room, and he had a MasterCard, and on the MasterCard at the Memorial Cup, it had a picture of Al McCauley on it, and they had already prepaid because it was in Hull. And they already had the Ottawa 67s going to the Memorial Cup, and I can remember all the boys saying, no. So I think that really fired us up, but it's something I'll never forget.
There's some motivation, eh?
Absolutely.
You mentioned Bill Stewart. There's lots of stories around this league surrounding that guy. What was he like as a coach back then?
He was tough. He was a tough guy, and he expected, you know, the best out of you every single night. And he taught me a lot, though. There was times I had to tell him I can't go on the ice. Like I can't go out there. I'm too tired. Like so, but he used me as much as anybody has, and we still have a little bit of a relationship. But again, at the end of the day, there's some stories that circulate that I'd have to believe most of them are true because I did play for him and I seen him. But at the end of the day, he's a winner, and there's no way to deny that. He wins at every level he's at, but he goes a little over the top, and I don't think as a coach I might go that deep. But again, he really helped me along the way.
Are there any of those stories that you have about him maybe going over the top shareable on this podcast?
Well,
or any Bill Stewart story?
I kind of got a bit of a gentle one that was about myself. So I remember we were playing before Christmas, and at Christmas, as you know, everybody gets a week off. And I had 2 games before Christmas where my minutes just went right down, and I'm like, what's going on here? And he was all over me. He was kind of all over me all the way up till Christmas. You know, we could win a game 5-4, and I'd have 2 goals and 2 assists, and he'd come in and be like, you know, what did you, where were you tonight? Like, and I'm like, oh, Jesus, like, I don't know. I thought I played okay. So, but anyways, at Christmas, I went in his office after those 2 games. I said, like I said, he was on me a lot. And I said, Bill, I've been here for 4 years, you know, and I've been through some coaches. I had Rick Kornacki actually too. And I said, you know, maybe it's not working out. I said, maybe it's for the best. I'll go home for Christmas. I'll ask, we had Wayne Daniels as our general manager. I said, I'll talk to Wayne Daniels and just say, like, you know, let's break, like, move me, like, you know, let me go try play somewhere else. It's not working out. And I can remember I'm in his office. It took a lot for me to go in there because, like I said, he was a scary guy. Like, he had some big hands on him, and he was a scary guy. And he just looked at me and he started laughing in my face. And I'm like, what's so funny? He goes, if you think I'm going to trade the best player in the league, you're crazy. Go home and have fun. That's what he said. So it's something I'll never forget. Yeah, he was a tough guy, but when he said that, he really caught my attention.
It was oh so close in that Memorial Cup for the Oshawa Generals and you, Marc. Semifinal loss in overtime. Do you remember the moment, the feeling when the Hurricanes scored the winner?
I think it was double overtime and maybe triple. I'd have to look back. I know it went more than 1 extra frame, and then I can remember it because I don't believe I was on the ice, but they ended up somehow. We had a big breakdown, and they ended up almost a 3-on-1, and it was in our net, and it was heartbreak because we knew that we played Hull in the round robin, and they put a smoking on. It was probably the worst game all year that we all played. We all had our worst game at the same time, and I think they beat us 8-1 or something like that. We were really embarrassed by that. So I think that was deep down our hunger to get back because they were in the finals, Hull. And at that point, the Quebec League had loaded up. Like, they load up their top teams back then. And we wanted Adam again. And again, we fell short to Lethbridge. And they were a good hockey club. They had Byron Ritchie on the team. I think he might have scored the goal. But, that's a moment that I'm thankful now that I'm here again. It's something that, you know, hopefully I can do even as a coach, try and get back there and win that Memorial Cup.
Well, I know for a lot of people around this league, it's good to have you back in this league. That's for sure. You're sitting in Windsor right now as we do this podcast. That's a really nice arena down there. It didn't used to be. Do you have any? Do you have any good stories of your time in the league when you were in the old Windsor barn? Because we get a lot of them on here.
Yeah, me and Billy laugh at this one. Billy, the general manager, Bill Bowler, because I came in and I was young and that building was scary. It was. I've never been really scared in the OHL. I said there was two buildings I was scared. It was Windsor and it was Kingston, because Kingston was pitch black and Brett Lindros was running around the ice. He didn't know where a puck was. But when we came into Windsor, we came in this little barn. I remember going out for warmups, like seats duct taped together, people throwing stuff at you. Like it was just crazy. They could almost reach you. And I remember we're playing. First off, Ed Jovanovski scored a hat trick, 2 shots from center, 2 slap shots. The red line was like a blue line. And then Bill Bowler had 4 assists. I said 3 of them were from the bench. And then the guys behind the net, I could never forget, the guys sitting behind the goalie throwing pennies at him all night. The refs would come, scoop the pennies, and they'd come back, tell them, please don't. No one took them out of the rink, penny after penny. And I can remember people like on the bench, they can grab my shirt, like they were grabbing me. And it was like, come on, like this is crazy. But yeah, that building was a scary one to play in. And I remember that like it was yesterday.
So what's it like now, Marc, coming back into obviously the different building, but against this franchise and with Bill Bowler now as the GM, bringing you back in as his head coach in Windsor?
Well, I can tell you something, like in our interview process, I never mentioned that I beat him by 4 points when I beat him for the scoring title at 139. He was second behind me, but no, it's great. I mean, me and Billy have hit it right off. We're almost identical people, actually. It's kind of funny. You know, we play the same type of game. We're both offensive guys, so we see the game the same way. But, you know, to come back here to Windsor and, you know, my best friends from here, actually, so I've been coming up for the last 10 years. We play in each other's member guests and our families are really close. So it kind of worked out really well. I'm actually living with him still until I get my place in October. So it was a smooth transition. I didn't have a lot of time though. That's the one thing I wish. I feel like I'm behind the 8 ball a little bit with camp and stuff, but I'm catching up. The season doesn't start till October 7th. So Billy keeps reminding me that. So just slow down. But and it's tough right now. 9 guys at NHL camps. We have a good core of players. So, you know, we're working with 2 lines right now in 5D. So that's been a little bit of a tough thing to navigate through in practice, but we're getting by. And I got a great staff here with associate coach Jared Smith, who's been here for 7-8 years. So he knows the ropes and everything around here. And then Andy Delmore, who I'm friends with already. And I knew him coming in and playing against him. So we got a nice staff. So I feel comfortable. Arena's gorgeous, like you said. They redid their dressing room this year. It's beautiful, and all the people around here have been nothing but helpful.
If I'm a setup guy in the OHL, I'm asking for a trade to Windsor so I can play under Marc Savard and Bill Bowler. Like, how do you not just want to go play there?
No, it's exciting, you know, and I got a lot of kids asking questions. We have a pretty good offensive crew, so been trying to work with them as much as I can, and I think we got some guys that are going to put up some decent numbers this year, and we're going to have a lot of fun.
How did the whole thing come about, Marc? You were in St. Louis last year and now in Windsor.
Well, this is something I always wanted to do. I actually never wanted to really coach in the NHL. I always wanted to coach in the OHL, help kids move on to that next level. And in order to get some, some reps and get more, more skill, learning more from being a coach, this was the easiest route for me. Craig Berube, I played with, he gave me an opportunity to come to St. Louis. How do you pass that up? So I went up there, and then when this, a couple jobs opened up, I put my name in. I had interviews with Oshawa, actually, right down to the last 2 guys, and it didn't work out. And then when Trevor Lachowski left, I thought, it's a good opportunity. And then me and Billy met, and after the first meeting, I was like, yeah, this is a place, I think. And we just hit it off from there, did a couple more interviews, came down to Windsor, met some people, and yeah, here we are today. And like I said, me and Billy, we're 2 identical guys. We almost think the game the same, and it's been a lot of fun.
Completely different eras, as we've already alluded to, and those points you were putting up. Sometimes we hear just in the media that it's difficult for a guy that had the success and had the skill to translate that into teaching it to players. What's your approach? How do you do that?
Well, I'm not going to kid anybody. I'm an offensive guy, and the nice thing about being an offensive guy is I know you can't direct offense. You got to let the players do their thing. So as a coach, that's kind of how I am, but you got to be respectful defensively. You got to have a guy, coming back hard. I'm a real guy. I'm tracking back. and defensive work. I want to get the puck up to the forwards as quick as we can. So you're going to have to play defense a little bit as quick as we can, get out of our zone. So, there's a lot to be taught. I learned a lot from Craig Berube. And the nice thing is I played for some great coaches, Claude Julien, Bob Hartley. So I'm able to pick and choose stuff from those coaches that coach me and move it to how I feel I want to coach the team. So, and obviously input from Jared and Andy, they've had great input so far. So there's a mix of everything. But again, I'm able, power play is my baby. Like no one's touching the power play. That's the thing I'm going to work with the guys with because, that's what I did in St. Louis. When I coached St. Louis in the power play, we went from 13th to 2nd in the league. So I feel confident in my ability there. And, just getting behind the bench again, working with the guys, that's going to be the transition I'm going to have to make. But we got 6 preseason games here, so I'm going to be able to adjust that way.
Without giving us too many trade secrets, you mentioned that power play and obviously power play specialist like yourself. What makes a good power play to you?
I think puck movement. I really do. I'm a firm believer that a guy standing on the half wall with the puck and looking at guys ain't going to get you anywhere. So I think we call it no dusting. Like you move the puck, you have it on your tape, hit another guy, get that PK moving around. So that's kind of in a short form, kind of where I see things. But again, different looks, not always the same guy in the same position. Like let's change positions. Let's get different looks. So teams can't check easily, so instead of having Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews in the same spot every time, let's flip flop. Let's get different looks. So I think that's another thing. But besides that, like you said, I'm not going to give away too many things, but I think those are my keys. Some of my keys.
You may have been within a shot of advancing to a Memorial Cup final, but in the OHL, but obviously in the NHL, you did get to spend a day with the Stanley Cup. How did you spend that day?
Well, that was an incredible day. I spent it in Peterborough. I brought it to my golf course, let people come in. We did a thing, and the line was out on the main road. There was actually police kind of escorting cars through so they could come in. It was an amazing moment. And then I got it back to my house where I had a party and I had a band and family and all my best friends. And it was an incredible night. And it's something I'll never forget. It was a really special day.
No disrespect to anybody that played with you in Oshawa, but looking at the rosters, your name stands out more than any other throughout your time in Oshawa. But is there any player that you played in Oshawa that stands out to you during your time as a general, as a teammate?
I had a couple guys that came through, Larry Courville. I can remember he played a little stint there. He was a good player, played on the World Juniors. Wayne Primo came through for 1 year, and I only got to play with him in the playoffs. Actually, I broke my ankle first game I played with him. But, there's like John Tripp. There was a John Tripp when we went to the Memorial Cup. This guy was a mammoth guy, and he was a scary guy to be on the ice. That's the one thing. In my final couple of years, I could do anything on the ice I wanted. I had like Nathan Perreault, I had John Tripp, I had Marty Wolford, Jeff Ware. Like it was unbelievable how tough we were. And but John Tripp sticks out a bit because I thought that he would have a future. He did everything really well, but at his he didn't want to fight. He didn't enjoy fighting, and I think that held him back a little bit because he was as tough as I've seen in the game.
The game has changed so much. You talk about that line brawl you were a part of in your first game. Stuff just doesn't happen in the league anymore. How do you feel about where the game is at today versus where it was when you played it?
Well, I mean, just watching training camp, that was an eye opener for me. I don't even know if there was a slash, a mad slash at somebody. So that was a bit of an eye opener. But again, these guys are huge. Like I don't remember them being this big when I played. Like every kid on our team, I feel is 6'4", 6'5". Like I don't know if there's steroids in the food they're eating or what it is, but they're mammoths. So it's amazing. That's been an eye opener too, is the size of these kids compared to when I played. I mean, you had at least 6-7 guys at 5'10", 5'7" in there. I mean, we're lucky to have. I think we got 2 guys at 5'10". Everybody else is bigger. So that's incredible. But again, it is less physical. There's more speed to the game. It's more open, which is kind of nice. So we're able to coach that a bit. Again, teaching guys to hold up a little bit and try and be a little bit trickier is going to be a test, but we'll work with it.
You mentioned Craig Berube a couple times. What do you take away from your time with Chief?
Oh, I mean, I learned so much from him behind the scenes. I didn't get that behind the scene look as often, obviously being a player. Just the way he worked with his veteran core, having meetings with single guys a lot of the time. Instead of centering anybody out, I don't think I ever seen him center a guy out in the dressing room. Either waited until the next day at practice to talk to him in his office. So little things like that. But again, really stressing defense, because that's what win championships at the end of the day. You got to be good defensively. You could score 8 goals a game, but it's not going to do anything in the playoffs. So a lot of little things like that. Mike Van Ryn, Steve Ott, who's a Windsor Spitfire. Those guys are incredible too. Mike Van Ryn, his systems are incredible. So I still call him a lot, getting some system stuff from him. But again, I'm still a student of the game, so it's amazing to have those guys on your side that I can call any day. I've already called them a couple of times through training camp. I'm having trouble with this. Here you go. This is what you do. So it's nice to have those guys to talk to.
Give our best to Rhino next time you're talking to him, former head coach of Kitchener.
I will. Sure. He's a beauty.
Oshawa Generals, obviously, we've talked about the tradition in the Ontario Hockey League, and then you get drafted, Marc, into the National Hockey League by another team with so much tradition in the New York Rangers, and original 6 team, obviously. What was NHL draft day like for you?
Draft day was a struggle. I'll tell you, draft day was a bit of a struggle. I went in the 4th round. I had 139 points that year. And watching guys go ahead of you that you're like, God, I think I'm a little better than him. I think I'm better. So to go in the 4th round was a bit of a heartbreaker, I guess. But to go to the Rangers was amazing. And going in there and having some good camps early, and then going there as a 20-year-old. And I really had an amazing camp. And everything I touched went in the net. It was just like, I'm destined to make this team this first year. And I did. And I got to play with Wayne Gretzky. I mean, 2 years, my first 2 years in the National Hockey League, play with your idol. I mean, I don't know if there's anything better. So really, to learn from him, to watch him, he wasn't at his best. Obviously, it was the last 2 years of his career, but still in the power play, when he got behind the net, the crowd on their feet, no matter what, bench on their feet, something was going to happen. But sometimes it was for them at the end of his career, but still, he still made some great plays. And those last couple games to be on the bench with them in Ottawa. I mean, he had 15 curtain calls in Ottawa. By the time he came out, he had nothing on his last curtain call, I think. It was unbelievable. And then to play in the last game as a Ranger with him in New York, I mean, it's amazing. So I couldn't have drawn a better script. I've been very fortunate. And again, I think that's, in life, things are meant to be. And I think that's why I'm in Windsor right now.
I heard there was quite a party after that final game. Was it at the Empire State Building? Is that where it was?
No, actually, unfortunately, it was at the World Trade Center.
World Trade Center.
Oh, wow.
On the millionth floor. And Mario was there, Paul was there, star actors were there. And I can remember being there. Yeah, it was a pretty special night.
So
sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, just quickly based on that, though, and we just passed 9/11. I mean, my God, what does that feel like for you?
Well, it was a tough time. I mean, I had been traded to Calgary that summer that had happened, but literally we had a party there, the year before. And it was, I was in shock, as the rest of the world was. I couldn't believe it was happening. And it really was a tough day, couple tough weeks actually. And everybody knows, everybody knew a lot of people too that it happened to, because from New York. And it's something that I think about often. And obviously that date just went by. So it was a real, it's a tough day all the time.
If I can circle back, because you talk to former NHLers all the time, and they, your idols become your rivals essentially. But you got to play with your idol and almost every Canadian kid's idol in Wayne Gretzky. Did it ever get did you ever get over the fact of walking into the dressing room and being like, that's 99 right there?
And the funny thing is that, you're around him and you're like, and he's like, he'll actually tell you that time, Zach, just I'm normal, just be normal, like you're not normal. You're not normal, but
yeah, you're not normal.
You feel comfortable. And, always came out to dinner with the guys. He obviously had a tough time going anywhere. I mean, let's be honest. He was known anywhere he went. So we would go to dinner, and he would sneak into dinner and in the back door and come sit down and have dinner, and then away he went. So, but and he was special. He was a good guy, good to me. And actually, funny story, quick one. When I came to the NHL, Nike was a cool thing. I had all Nike stuff, and I was, I'm a real equipment guru, stick guy. Gretzky bought Hesper. So next day, come in, Gretzky's like, Savvy, you want to wear some Hesper? I'm like, yeah. So I had to tow Hesper, and then the boys come in, and they're just all over me. Hey, I got all the Hesper on. They're like, we thought you were a Nike guy. I'm like, yeah, but Gretz got me to wear the Hessler, right? So it was a funny day, but yeah, I was a Hessler guy for a little while before he left. Yeah.
You mentioned his records before, and obviously everybody knows him as the greatest setup man ever to play the game. And you were no slouch either when it came to assists. Did you pick up any tips from Gretz?
Oh, for sure. I mean, just his patience using the net, and just being able to find that late guy coming in. Like a lot of guys carry it in the zone and you make a play off the rush. He would take it right down the corner and find that late defenseman coming in. He'd find Leachy coming in all the time on the far side. I don't know how they did it, but it just seemed to work. So I learned a lot from him that way, and just being a professional, to watching him, every day and trying to keep a straight face and do everything right. And I tried to follow that lead for my career.
How cool was it playing in Madison Square Garden every night?
It was amazing. I mean, I was so young, 20 and 21. It was actually a little scary at times. Just the city, such a big city, and I actually lived by the practice rink in Rye, New York. But to drive in for 40 minutes, sometimes an hour, and then park at Madison Square Garden. We used to have day rooms downtown, and go have a meal, go up to your day room, come back down, and then head over to the Garden for the game. And just the smell, and I could just remember it was an amazing place.
How did Project 91 come about?
Well, obviously we all know my career ended abruptly with concussions, and it was just something I felt I needed to do. And Dr. Tater out of Toronto, he really helped me out along the way. So I just thought I got to do this, and this is how it started. I got the buddy here in Windsor that I'm living with right now. Me and him, put our heads together, and my wife was she did everything. Actually, we just kind of put our heads together, I guess. But yeah, it came about and we did great. The first year, first 6 months, I think we made 20 grand, and I matched it with 20 grand, and we donated 40 grand. And then, we kind of stopped for a bit, and then we got a little bigger we added a couple guys to help us out. So my wife didn't do everything. And now we got 5 guys doing it, and we're doing really well. We're adding to that number every day.
Back to the NHL days real quick. What was it like in Atlanta?
I loved it. I was a golfer, so I lived at TPC Sugarloaf. So the nice thing about Atlanta is that, you played hockey. We weren't the greatest team. We had a lot of great players. We weren't the greatest team, but at the end, when you left the rink, it's like no one knew you played. Like we had one guy following us, one media guy, I forget his name, but he had one guy. So it was a slow death, I think, for that franchise, unfortunately. But good players. My career really took off there under Bob Hartley, and I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed Atlanta and Duluth. Living in Duluth, made a lot of friends that I still have today, and it was a great neighborhood, and it's a part of my life that I'll never forget.
And on the ice, Kovalchuk, Heatley, not too bad for
Hossa.
line mates. Yeah, Hossa was there. Yeah.
No, I went through some great line mates. Power play was top in the league a lot of years, just with Hossa, like I said, Hossa, me, Heatley, Kovalchuk. I mean, the name goes on. So, but yeah, no, I got to play with some good finishers, and that really helped my game for sure.
Do you have any good stories about a guy like Kovalchuk or Heatley? There's a lot out there.
Well, I'll tell you one about Kobe. Actually, when I first got to Atlanta, I came in and we played together, and we're going, and I'm passing it to him, he's getting the puck on breakouts, trying to go end to end, or we're in the zone. I give it to him, and he's trying to deke a guy and shoot it. And I remember going back to the bench, and I'd had enough. And I said, Kobe, listen, I don't care if I score. I want you to score. So do me a favor. When I give you the puck, give it back to me, because I'm not going to leave the building with it. I said, I'm not leaving. I promise. I'm looking to give it back to you so you can score. So that was one of our funny moments, and we both remember that like it was yesterday, because he wasn't very happy with the comment. But it was being honest.
Guy wants the puck. Simple as that.
Yes, exactly.
You mentioned golfing a minute ago. I want to come back to that, because didn't you use an off season at one point to make the men's mid amateur in Canada?
Yeah, so I've played. I think I've played probably 5 mid amateurs now. A couple of amateurs and I've qualified for a couple of amateurs I didn't bother playing in. But yeah, no, I've really, that's what I've done. Kind of when I wasn't coaching and just recuperating, I was golfing, and I really took a loving to it. I started playing when I was 20. I played right-handed. Didn't really enjoy it. Switched to left-handed at 21, and then about I think 4 years became a scratch golfer, and then just loved it. Put the time in. I love going to the range, hitting balls all day, and then playing. So my wife allows me to play because she's great 5 to 6 times a week. So she'd rather me playing than being around the house too long.
I'm going to go tell my girlfriend the same thing.
There you go.
So I can get out 5 or 6 times a week. Your career really took off, and your prime really was in Boston. You can't say the Boston Bruins without thinking about Zdeno Chara. Was he a fitness freak as much as he is almost as his career comes to an end back in those days?
Oh yeah, he was amazing, and yeah, he never left the gym, never left the ice. You know, like our plane was late half the time because he wasn't at the plane because he's still working out. But amazing character, like just a good guy. And you know, that year I was a free agent, so and he was too. And I remember Peter Chiarelli called my agent, let's say at 2:00 in the afternoon, said like, here's our offer for Marc. And then I hear an hour later that Zdeno Chara signed with the Bruins. So I remember calling my agent saying, well, where else are we going to go? And we had other offers that were kind of around the same. He said, no, they still want you, but you got 30 minutes to answer now. So, and I thought, you know, this is a step this organization's taking, and I wanted to be part of it. And it was I was really fortunate to play with Zdeno Chara for as long as I did.
When we talk about this game, Marc, and those who play it, that warrior mentality gets discussed quite a bit. How difficult was it for you towards the end when you were injured, and I'm sure you were just chomping at the bit to be out there? How tough is that on a high performance athlete such as yourself?
Well, it was incredibly tough. I mean, to go from, you know, I don't even know my last year, maybe 85 points or whatever, and feel like it was an off year, to come out the following season and get hurt, and then just never feel the same on the ice. Never feel like I could think like I did, you know, be as quick on the puck and do stuff that I did and see guys like I used to. Just to go on that decline like the next day, it was like, oh God, you know, it was just like, it was really tough. It was a really tough on me and my family, you know, and it was a really tough time in my career. But again, you know, the support I had and able to, you know, realize slowly that hockey, you know, it's not everything. And then my kids, being able to coach my kids through the Peter O'Pete's minor system, both of them. My son's going to play for the Sioux Greyhounds this year. So, you know, exciting times. And like I said, again, everything's meant for a reason. So that maybe that was the reason I coached them and get myself prepared to do what I'm doing today.
What do you think about the first Greyhounds Spitfires matchup?
We've had some chats already, so there might be some friendly money on the line and maybe some other things, some chores for him because he doesn't do any more chores anyway. So, but yeah, we're really looking forward to that matchup.
I was thinking about another matchup because we've talked obviously about the storied rivalry that is Peterborough Oshawa, but have they filled you in, Marc, on Windsor London? Because you got some living up to do there too.
Oh yeah, I've been filled in for sure, and yeah, for those games. Obviously, being around Craig Berube too, he's best friends with Dale Hunter. So I've heard a lot from Dale over the last couple of years when they talk on the phone and, you know, on speaker or whatever. So to hear his insight and know what they're doing, you know, hopefully I have a little bit of a handle on it, but I'm looking forward to those games. I know London has a bit of a younger team, probably still a great team because, you know, they draft really well and a lot of guys like to go to London. So, but again, I'm really confident with the group we have. I think we're going to put up a good fight, and obviously I can't wait for that game against London Knights as well.
If anybody's in a bar and sees Craig Berube and Dale Hunter sitting at a table, look the other way. Don't make eye contact. That is a scary table.
Unless you're a bartender, because you got to go back and forth often.
Very, very often. Kind of going off normal questioning, I guess. You talked about how you were an equipment guru. Who had the worst tape job you ever played with?
The worst tape job I've ever played with.
I know you like your tape jobs.
There were some bad ones. Well, like a guy like Glenn Murray, like he didn't care about his stick. Like, so he would tape it at the beginning of the game, and then end. If 3 pieces were off his stick, and by the third, he'd still go out with it. And I'd be like, come on. I can't pass to you. Like I'm not going to pass to you if you use that stick. So he kind of got a little better, maybe taped it a little more, but he was pretty bad.
Why does it matter so much? Is it as much superstition as anything else?
I don't know. I just feel like, you know, you're not going to use a pen that doesn't work. Like, why would you use a stick that's not taped? I don't know. It's maybe something I just felt like take care. I always said, take care of your stick and it'll take care of you. So that's kind of been my motto when I did my taping twig stuff on YouTube and stuff like that. So I don't know. I just kind of, I've always felt that way.
You seem like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you seem like the type of guy that was very superstitious and meticulous in his preparation for game, putting on, shin pads at the exact same time, left side, then right side, retaping the stick 3 times a game. Was that you?
I could write a book. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Could you take us through it?
I had way too many things. I had way too many things going on, but it kept your mind occupied. Like you had so much to do, and you just it was all in order. It was such an agenda that I had to do this, and then it was game time. So it kind of kept your mind occupied, so you weren't thinking about, the 20,000 in the building and the coach being on you. It was just, I have to do this and I'm ready to go. So it kind of works out. But again, at the end, I don't even know how many things I had. I'd be interested to check off a list for sure.
You're going to have to find things, Marc, to keep your mind occupied now back on the bus, because there are some roadies coming your way. Are you ready for being back on the buses?
Oh, that's one thing that maybe I didn't come to mind when I took the job. But again, we're not going out east at all this year. So it's a bit of an easier travel system in the first year. So we'll get through it. But again, yeah, it's going to be tough. Hopefully the next couple of years, we find a way to fly places here in the OHL if everything gets back to normal.
I'm wondering if that preparation that you had, the meticulous preparation as a player, will now transfer over to the meticulous preparation as a coach. Is it going to be like, we're an hour away from, the pregame talk. Now we'll put on my tie. I'll do a couple stretches. Now the jacket. And is it going to be as meticulous, you think?
For sure. I mean, I'm already dialed. The guy's like, why do you got so many colored pens? Well, we play these different colored teams. Like, what do you just down with a black pen all the time or a blue pen? No, you gotta. So I've been doing that, and I got the printing going. Like, I'm a nice printer. The guy's like, you print like that all the time? I'm like, yeah, why would you write messy? So, but anyway, yeah, no, I'm pretty, on that stuff, dialed in. I like everybody to be organized, especially in the room here. Like, I feel like I'm cleaning up after everybody, but again, it's just something that it just bugs me, and I got to have it perfect. And hopefully the guys, learn off of that, the little things, end up being better for them when the big things come along.
You just made Poper's day, because this guy and his damn pens in the broadcast booth, holy Hannah, all the time with a different color. Jeez.
No, I love it. I got the markers, I got the pens, I got them all for every colored team. And even when I was in the NHL, the boys were like, come on, man. Like, you don't need to do that. You don't have to have purple. We're playing the Kings. They're wearing their purples tonight. I got purple, guys. What's wrong with that?
I personally love it.
So just before we let you go, I mentioned at the outset, it's kind of like full circle for you. Does it feel that way? I mean, obviously from the Oshawa Generals and franchise points, do you still own that record and back into the league as a head coach? Is this the way the Marc Savard story was supposed to go?
I think so. Like you said, I was able to win a Stanley Cup. So, coming back this way and trying to get your name on the Memorial Cup would be a real goal, and, a real ending to a pretty good story. So I'm excited. I know there's a lot of work ahead, maybe not happen in your first year, maybe your second year, who knows, but, hopefully I'm in no rush to leave here. I have told Billy that if it's 6-7 years, I don't know, but I'm not in any rush to get to the NHL. This is where I want to be. So, financially, I'm lucky enough to be fine that way. And I'm just really excited what the future holds.
Real quick, 800 plus games in the National Hockey League. You talked about Gretzky, and I'm sure he'd be the answer. So if we can eliminate him, was there a player in the National Hockey League that you played with or against where you were like watching him play or whatever, and you're thinking, man, this guy is unbelievable?
Well, when you said that, two come right to mind. Obviously, I got to play against Mario, and, he went through Hodgkins. He came back. I can remember playing in Pittsburgh. I had 2 goals and assists and ended up -3 that night somehow. I don't know. Anyways, Mario had a hat trick and 5 points, and mine must have been on the power play or something. So that was incredible. But Alexei Kovalev too in New York. I mean, this guy, I've never seen anything like it. Still to this day, the power, the finesse, the ability to see guys, the moves, the side to side. I mean, the list goes on. And there's a YouTube video where he sits at center ice and he shoots, 30 pucks in a row on top of the net from center ice. Like, I'm lucky to get 1 out of 30 pucks. So he's a pretty special person and player. And those are 2 guys that jump to mind.
I like the YouTube video of him one hand backhand, like ringing it off the bar, and it looks like someone's forehand shot.
That's normal. Yeah. And the stick was only up to just above his waist, which was incredible too. The power he was able to generate with 150 flex was amazing.
But seeing guys like that and that you can admire even as peers in the National Hockey League gives you the opportunity here, Marc, to talk to the kids that you're coaching now and let them know exactly what it takes to make the jump from where they are to where they want to be.
Well, and that's the great thing I have already noticed early is that when I want to, I don't want to speak often, but when I do speak, it's meaning and then I have everybody's attention. I seem like that's the way so far. So I let Jared and Andy do a lot of the talking with, drills and stuff like that. But if there's something to be said about, we're not doing this right, we need to do this better. This is what we're doing in the D zone. I speak and I can just tell I have everybody's attention. So hopefully I can keep that up. And I think they really respect that. I've played the game. I've been there. I play with all these guys. I haven't shared a lot of stories yet, but obviously I have so many to share with them that I think I'll keep them, interested.
In the minimal training camp you've seen thus far, what do you expect from this year as a league? Because Mike and I have talked at length about it, just about 2 rookie crops coming in and a much younger league of what kind of hockey we're going to expect.
Well, we don't know. So that's the big thing. We don't know. We got kids that are second-year guys that haven't played in the league. Like, are they going to be good in this league? We don't know that. We think from what we've seen, we got a good core of second-year guys, but they haven't played in the league. So we don't know what we're getting. I think all teams are looking like that right now. So the better you can prepare yourself for the season and be ready to compete, I think you're going to be, ahead of the game. We got a good goaltender in Xavier Medina. So that we're a little comfortable there. We got a 2nd-round draft pick in Downey in his backup role. So we've got good goaltending. We've got a big defense core, really good, strong defense core. And up front, like I said, we're going to have some mixed scoring. We got 9 guys at camp. So I think if everything goes as planned, we're going to have a good start. And I think that's where it's going to be the focus. It might be a little sloppy early, but whoever's coaching the best and getting their teams ready, maybe get off to a great start.
It's really good to have you back in the league. Thanks for taking the time to share some stories with us today.
No, I really appreciate you guys having me anytime.